hear something that's making your ears bleed, with the alarm's going off. You'll also have just some indicator lights if it were to stop charging. Oil pressures, there's oil temperature lights that can illuminate. That'll be all across the dash. Hand throttle. So as far as operating, you want to be wide open.
Okay.
As far as PTO engagement, you want to bring the PTO in at about half throttle and then go to wide open. Your range box, you have 2 speeds on this, turtle and rabbit. Low range forward, high range up. Low range is up to 5 miles an hour, high range is 10. The easiest way to decipher your ranges is if you're operating a machine and say the conditions only are allowing you to drive with about a quarter of the speed, it's way easier on the machine to put it in low range and use this hydraulic at full. Plus, the high range, if you're on your banks and your slopes, this handle will get very hard to push, and it's literally just the hydraulics pushing back. So by putting it in low range, honestly, for most of probably your basic lawn, I would just low range.
Stay on low range.
Yeah, you said about a big field, open area. If speeds allow, I mean, you could put it down into high range for that and mow. We mow the baseball field up here in high range, so. But most of your.
How does this move?
So, the locking pin has to be in to maintain it in the range because the handle could potentially kick itself out. So by pulling the handle out, you can bring this out of the gate and back. Now,
I see.
this is neutral. So if there's ever a mechanical failure, you blow a hydraulic line, something stops driving, you can put the gearboxes into neutral and you can hook your four-wheeler to it and tow it back to the shed. But that's very, very, very important, is neutral for any towing reasons. Now, these are non-synchronized, so like sitting still here, it won't go in. Just either a little rocking or with the machine running, you can bump the speed controls that'll spin the gears.
So that's high there.
That's high range.
Okay.
Yep.
How do you put that in down there? Oh, then okay, then that pin goes in to
Yep.
hold that in place.
There's a pinhole for both high and low to lock it in either range you
I
can run
got
it.
you.
Front fuse box. There is a rear fuse box. For most sakes, you never have to be in there. If you grow into any other accessories, everything is pre-wired. So you just find terminal ends, add fuses, add relays, and things power up. So that's your controls. You do have, say you're putting the machine in the shed for the winter, you're putting it away. Master disconnect. You can kill the battery.
Oh,
That's nice.
Turn it back on. Fuel petcock for any maintenance.
show me how you did it again.
Just a
Oh, that presses back. Okay,
Yep.
gotcha.
fuel petcock on and off. Most cases you're just going to let it on. If you're doing maintenance, fuel filter replacements and stuff, you can shut the fuel off and there's a filter under here.
And how does that?
Just to turn it.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And also, it's not uncommon for me to get phone calls. Somebody got on it first thing in the morning, they're off mowing, all of a sudden they've got a stumble or a stutter or something. First thing I tell them to do is look down because your pant leg will catch that
Oh, okay.
and turn it
Partially turn it off.
Yeah. So
So when it's
suspension
pointing
seat-
sideways, it's letting the fuel go through the thing.
Yep.
If it's
And
pointing
there-
up, it's shutting it.
there
It's
is
blocking
a-
it. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
You do have adjustable slide rails on your seat. Your suspension seat is also tunable. So there's an orange arrow. When you're sitting on the seat, you want the orange arrow to be centered. So heavier, lighter, basically by bringing this out, stroking it one way is going to stiffen, I believe up is actually firming it up, and down is lessening it. So when you sit on it, if the arrow bottoms out, stand back up a little bit, crank it up a couple pumps, sit back on it until you get the arrow centered.
In the middle. Okay.
Yep. The new seat also is wired. You do have a lumbar adjustment as well that will stiffen up the lower. This you're probably never going to use unless it's late fall and you're trying to get stuff done. Heated seat. So it's fused, wired.
If your back's bothering you, it's cool out.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. It makes a big difference with the cab ones for the snow guys. But
Now, here's one thing explained to me that when I was reading the brochure, I didn't really understand. So do you have, when you go forward, say you're mowing, do you have to hold that lever in place?
Yep. Yep. So coming around to this side with controls. So these are your SDLA levers. It's all your controls of the entire machine. Forward, reverse. The front lever is your implement. So up will be towards you, down will be away, and then float. That's where you'll be mowing. That kicks it, keeps it locked into detent, and lets your implement stay on the ground. No matter if you're in a cul-de-sac or coming out of it, mowing straight up over that bank onto the ball field, it lets the deck stay on the ground. This lever will only be used, you upgraded to the power fold, so you have, just like on your Kubota, you have auxiliaries out the back.
Mm-hmm.
This has auxiliaries out the front. So you're using the hydraulics here to power fold the deck for maintenance reasons. And I'll show you how that works too, but back to your question with the levers. So when you're driving it and you have it at wide open throttle, it will take minimal effort to keep that held there. There's a second option to that. This small black lever here is spring loaded. You bring it out, lock it under the gate. If you had these machines in situations, bank slopes, where an operator could potentially come out of the seat, that's a spring-loaded return to neutral. So it's going to take more effort for you to hold it there, but if you were to let go of it, it's going to go to neutral and actually hydraulically stop the machine. Whereas in the other one, you're responsible for as fast or as slow or coming to neutral to slow it down.
Do a lot of I read where you can hook that into a foot pedal.
Yep.
A lot of people do that or not? No.
You might feel more comfortable because does your Kubota have heel toe?
Yeah, I'm just used to it.
Some people absolutely despise of it. Some people love it.
Yeah.
It is ridiculously simple. If you wanted one after you use it a couple times, we'll mail it to you. It's complete bolt in. It literally goes right through the two holes that are already here. You take 3 bolts out of this cover and you bolt it into the linkage. And their instructions are like kids' books, colored pictures, everything. So if you wanted to go that route, it's complete bolt on.
Now, tell me these positions again.
So implement raise, implement down.
Up, down, and float.
Yep. Up, down, and float. Mower deck up.
And forward and back.
Yep. Forward and reverse.
And the back one doesn't do anything unless you get other implements, correct?
Just the hydraulic power flip. So if this one will do the power flip on this deck.
What's the power flip? I don't.
For maintenance reasons, that deck stands all the way straight up, so he can take the blades off of it, grease it.
Oh, and you'll show us that. You'll do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll get to that one. Yep. So it will power anything. If you got a snowblower to do your driveway, it would power the chute. If you got a snow blade to push, it'll power angle the snow blade. Any of those accessories.
So for normal use, I'm not going to be using that then.
You're going to use that lever maybe once a month to scrape your deck out or something.
Okay.
That's cool though. You get it up and get at it. And
Yeah.
Yep. It stands all the way straight up vertical. So that's your mower deck PTO on and off. LED headlights in the grill. You do have USB chargers now. Everybody's going that route. Down here.
Charge your cell phone that you never
I won't
use.
be using that.
The last lever in the operator area is this one. This is your implement lock. So in this case, you're only running a mower deck. That locks the mower deck to the chassis. So if you were changing the implement out, taking the implement off to clean the tractor up or whatever, there's a safety gate here, gate up, handle over, and you're going to raise it all the way up. And that is going to unlock the implement. That handle moves this gate. It'll unlock it off that pin, and then you can back away from the accessory.
You unplug your hydraulics, the 2 hydraulic
Yeah,
lines.
hydraulics and the PTOs as well. Coming around to these, if you take the deck off, just your quick snaps, just like your tractor have on the back. Also, to remove the implement or change implements, this is your PTO belt. So all of your implements that are PTO driven have their own belt to stay with the attachment. So that is how you detension the belt. You reach down here, roll the belt off, and then all of your accessories have a gate. You can clip the belt on, unlock it, undo your hoses, and back right away from it.
That's slick.
Now, one thing I will stress to you is, so it's extremely common with all of these Ventracs to stretch a belt out beyond maintenance before you break one. So when you go to tension this, my rule of thumb is lay your hand on it. Put your palm on the handle, at a hand length, right there you start getting heavy resistance.
Okay.
That's putting spring pressure on your belt. So when you bring that in, it goes over center, and now it's preloaded the belt. As this belt stretches and this belt stretches, it'll be extremely common that'll fall right in. Or if you're mowing and you get into your heavy field and this lever happens to throw out, more than likely you don't have enough tension anymore, the belt's stretched.
So you're saying don't press it way down, just go down to where it's...
Well, right there at a hand's length, you're starting the spring pressure, the tensioning of the belt.
Oh, I see what you're saying, okay.
So if for some reason you start losing that and you only have this much spring tension, there's a very simple adjustment. One bolt. By loosening this, and it's a carriage bolt, you don't need to hold anything on the back. You see there's a little tiny slot right there at the base of my thumb?
Yep.
This piece here is an eccentric. So the farther you slide this up, you'll regain your tension. You slide this up, retighten it so that gap disappears on that eccentric. Put your belt back on, and you'll be right back to the same amount of tension you had before.
Got that down, Steve, because I'll never remember that.
You got problems, all you do is call. We'll walk you through it.
We'll probably be here for a while.
So moving around the tractor, as far as greasable, your jack shaft, pillow blocks, pivot points for the deck, because this deck will articulate this way as well.
Okay, so this is a grease point, this is a grease point.
Yep.
That green thing pops off of there? or
Yep,
pops out?
they're just protector caps.
Oh yeah.
The ball joints here, a couple in the lift system.
Okay.
So we talked about the tension on this belt. This belt is fully adjustable too. This handle is the tensioning device. It has a lock pin just like that gate had back there. By bringing this up, you just took all the tension off of it. So if you are mowing heavy and you start noticing maybe some streaks where a blade isn't keeping up or a blade slipping, all you have to do is come in here, grab another chain link, stretch back, tighten back up. When you run out of chain links, then this pulley is actually movable too. It has multiple locations here. So if you run out of chain links and the belt is still good, it's not frayed or anything, you can move this whole tensioner arm to bring the belt back into spec again. And really what you're looking for, there's no science to it. As far as the correct tension, if you can see air through the coils, you know it's stretched. When the belt stretches and that spring closes up and you can't see air through it, grab another chain link. As far as dealing with your maintenance, so the first thing to do to access the bottom of the blades, pull the gate, open this up. Pin here, pin here. Bring this back down. There's a lot to take in here, I understand. So anything you want repeated or anything, just say. This is your actual cut height. So if you're mowing your lawn at 3 inches, there's a chart right here. 3 inches is number 10 on the gate. But as far as for you doing maintenance, the deck needs to actually be at the lowest cutting height all the way down. It lets the deck articulate and flip. So with that, all the way down, all you're gonna do
That's awesome.
So hydraulically it is locked. You can take your pin and come back in here. You can put the safety pin back in just so you know kids can't walk by, bump the handle and drop it on you or anything.
Where'd you put that in on it into?
It goes right back into the same holes that it came out of.
Okay.
It takes the hole from the bottom side of the hitch to the top side of the hitch. Keeps it from coming back down over itself. But at this point, now you can zip the blades off. Standard threads, nothing reversed. So spindles are all greasable with relief valves. So there's no science to it other than pumping it till you see grease come out. Then you know it's full.
They full now?
Yeah, they come dry. We fill all of them up. Front wheels are greasable. The front casters are greasable. There's zerks on the inside and they put protective.
Lots of places to grease. Holy shit.
So when you're ready to bring it back down, and keep in mind too, so the hydraulic cylinder will get the deck to a certain point. If you want to safety lock it, you still have to kind of manually bring it up the extra distance. Now to put it down, you still need to start the machine and stroke the cylinder all the way back out. Because what that does, say you're mowing a hill like that and you're leaning downhill, it's not uncommon for your body weight to be laying against these levers. And you're hooked up, so hydraulically it can try to do something if you're pushing the lever. What that plate does is it's spring loaded. It's basically your lockout. When you tension the belts back up, it's holding that cylinder stop down.
So you got to make sure it's all the way out, or it's not going to latch.
Yep. If that's not fully extended, you won't get that down to where you can get your pin back in. So right there, you could be mowing across your bank and lay on that lever, and that cylinder can't move. And these are your lockouts. So another kind of crucial point is right now we're mowing at the lowest point possible, which is like 1 inch. You never want to make that adjustment with the implement up in the air. The only time you want to change your cut height is with it on the ground.
So you change that to say 4 inches or 5. What's a normal average?
Most of your manicured striped looking lawns are 3.5 to 4.
Mine's probably gonna be 5 there because it's not gonna be too manicured. Pretty long.
Oh, you'll be having stripes all the way down to Dunstown. So, gate number 12 is 3.5 inches. So when you put it in that gate, another important part is pick the handle up and lay the handle down.
Okay.
If you let it in this gate, you are going to catch a tree, you are going to catch a fence, and you're going to rip that handle.
Okay.
What do you want it at?
I'd say 5.
5?
Yeah. Be my guess.
It's all the way.
Gate number 18.
That's as high as it'll go then?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll start it out at that and stuff because, man, I've got a big chunk of my grass I can't even get through now. It's like I probably won't be using this for that. I'll use my DR field and brush mower to go through it in the mud.
Well, I can assure you that the one that sits in there, you guys know better than anybody, you can get stuff in brand new and still have problems. That one came out of the crate with an oil leak. So I had that one on the far bank mowing grass that high with this deck at 4.5 inches, and it literally turns it back into lawn. I mean,
Really?
these decks will mow better than a zero turn. It's unbelievable the airflow that they have out of them.
So that 5 and that 18.
18 is 5 inches.
That's as high as you can set it then,
Yep.
basically.
Yep.
Okay,
With a
gotcha.
finished deck, 5 inches is kind of your standard. And it will.
I'd go right down to that thick stuff you're talking about and bore through it and see what happens.
These tires are going to keep you afloat. I mean, obviously, if it's standing water and it's thick mud, there's an exception there. But
It is.
I mean, you're going to be. Not only are they stability, it's literally flotation.
Well, I'll use my common sense.
And the thing of it is that I know he's always had a concern about the ground clearance, but what you need to understand with the ground clearance, correct me if I'm wrong, BJ, is you're
Articulating.
well, no, that too, but everything's so close together. There's not, the longer the wheelbase is so short is what I'm trying to say.
It's like taking a charter bus and trying to go over a speed bump. It's going to catch in the middle of your bus.
But they're so close together, you're not going to
Yeah.
bottom out on stuff.
Yeah, I see that.
Moving around to this side, the next lever, this is your weight transfer lever. So with what you have now, the mower deck, you want weight transfer turned all the way up, all the way to 4. That's going to enable you to stay on your banks, steer into your slopes. It's not going to skid. It's not going to push when you're trying to steer. This can only be adjusted with the implement raised. So it's nothing more than a huge coil spring. And by putting this gate back, when you lower that 500-600 pound implement down, it's stretching that spring. But by stretching that spring, you're stretching it all the way in the center of the chassis, so it puts the weight from there here. And I can't stress to you, I can take this on that bank with no weight transfer and it will work. So it is kind of interesting if you ever are just playing. Turn it off, see what it does, turn it back on, and it's drastic as far as you'll feel it mostly in the steering when you're trying to side hill.
So they're basically, we're being simple, like a simple guy like me, just let it where the hell it's at.
Let it right it forward. Yep.
That's.
Yep.
I can remember that part.
Paper air cleaners, probably identical to Kubota or your zero turn. It's just the industrial inner and outer. You can keep them blowed out with light air pressure. Dust screen. So when you see that temperature climbing,
Clean it.
yep, take it out, blow it out. Moving back around, this is your hydraulic oil. So this particular tank is where you're going to add for the drive, the steering, the lift, everything is hydraulically operated on this. So even though it's a steel tank and you can't see through it, from this side you have a sticker chart. L for low, H for high. This clear line right here, can you see the oil level? I like to come in and pinch the hose, and you can see the oil moving up here around where my finger is.
I can't see it, but I have to get
Yeah, I can see it.
Yep. So that's basically your oil dipstick. It's just a clear hose.
Okay.
That oil level needs to be between the L and the H.
Does that have a tendency to go down or not?
Not unless you see a spot on the floor. It's that hose is in control of about 12 quarts of oil in the front differential, and that is very, very specific Ventrac oil. It's a real light.
Can't put junk in it then.
Yeah, it's a light grade, full synthetic. So hydraulic air cleaner. This is the coolant expansion tank. Thanks COVID, but you can't get plastic products right now. So they started manufacturing all their own steel tanks. That's why this hydraulic tank's steel. That's why the coolant tank is steel. Basically, you have to unthread the cap, take a flashlight, and check the level. But it's tied to the radiator. So again, unless you saw a steam puff, saw a wet spot on your floor,
So
sealed.
this has a gauge on it that you can check
Nope.
the level?
You'd have to actually, and this is O-ring, so it stays in just basically off the finger tight.
Oh, and you just look to see if it's full?
Yep, just look for the water level.
Okay.
And it's got a draw straw, so as it expands and contracts, it's gonna pull.
So
pull
is
and
that
push.
antifreeze or is that water?
Antifreeze.
It's antifreeze.
Yep.
Yeah. So
These
unless you
come
see antifreeze laying on your floor or it's steaming when you're out running it, don't worry about it.
They come standard with extended life, so it's the red antifreeze. Yeah, like Steve said, it's a sealed circuit unless you see a reason why it's there. engine oil dipstick is tucked down here on the side of the block,
Yeah, I see.
and that's got, just like your Kubota, they have the high and low hash marks. Spin off oil filter. If you do your own service, the drain is on Steve's side.
I can almost promise you I won't be doing that. It'll be coming back here for the service.
So you see that big white filter sticking off.
Yeah,
See the silver cap just below that towards the center of the chassis?
yeah.
That's your drain hose.
Oh, okay.
All you do is slide a pan under it, take the cap off,
Oh, cool.
and it dumps the oil pan. So you're going to have a break-in engine oil change, and you're going to have a break-in hydraulic filter change. 100 hours, 75 to 100 hours.
Where's the meter that registers that?
Right here on the dashboard.
Okay. 75 to 100 hours.
Yep. Yep. If you call me at 120 hours and tell me that you started losing steering, filter's plugged. They'll pretty much tell you that it needs to be done.
Now, do you guys have a pickup service, or
Yeah.
you do?
Yep. I mean,
I'll bring it. I'm sure it's expensive to go to our house.
I don't know what Mark's charging right now to go that far, but I mean we're up there. The gentleman that owns Domino's, he has one of ours.
Oh, does he? You know him.
James, I think. James
Oh, yeah.
Gregory.
Jim Gregory.
Yep. So we're up
Oh,
there with him.
He was trying to sell me one of these things 10 years ago.
So that part of it's not a problem. If you guys get in a pickle, I mean Mark's been running until 10, 11 o'clock every night doing pickup and deliveries. Tire pressures. Because you're running duals, they are staggered. So the inner tires are 8 psi, the outers are 6. And you don't have to remember that. It is right here on the chart. And you don't have to overthink it either as far as tire pressures, because running duals, there's 4 valve stems.
It'll make up for
So
it.
there's a valve stem on the inside and there's a valve stem on the outside.
Okay.
You don't have to take tools off to get to it. If you do run something up through one and get a flat, say you got a flat on your outer, you can zip the lug nuts off. You get a flat on the inner. This axle stud is actually how you're going to take this wheel off. You don't have to touch a lug nut. And that would go too if you grow into anything snow attachment wise and you don't want your duals for snow. You can pull the inner tires up on a set of 4x4s, just blocks, 12 inches long. Pull it up on so these are off the ground. Break this loose, smack it with a rubber hammer. And now all you do is grab that tire and you spin the tire right out. It's just on a threaded axle. And that'll remove the whole tire, axle, and then you're
So it's
right.
basically one nut.
One nut. Yep. Now that is tight. It's 120 foot-pounds. So if you don't retorque it, just as tight as you can make it.
You recording all this then, huh? Oh, yeah. You're a good man.
The only other oil level that it's not super crucial, but it can and will dissipate is this rear differential is the same exact differential as the front, just turned upright. The oil that's in the front that you're checking with that clear hose does not apply to this. Even though it's the same oil, this is sealed. So either one of the two, these are check bolts. The oil level just needs to be to the check bolt. And I'll stress, even though this is sealed, 5 years from now, you may never see a drip on the floor, and this might
It might eat a little bit of it.
This motor can create a vacuum, and that's my theory is that it can actually vacuum the oil back into the hydraulic drive system, because You will never see a spot on the floor, but it can be low. I've put a gallon in them before. It holds 2 gallons. Standard with the rear weights, so you have extra traction on your banks. And the seat is
For what reason would you ever take them off?
the rear weights. Maintenance. That's about it. We have a lot of pipeliners that actually they make a slide-in extension, and they'll put 6 more of them back here just to stay on the banks.
So, for example, I have a bank. It's the only one that I can't mow with my Kubota right now. I mow it with a DR field and brush mower, and it's steep. Matter of fact, remember when you mowed it one time? One time he was helping me. I don't know, it was when I was sick or something. I forget. And I had to put a tie down strap on it, and I was up the hill, and he was on it to hold it from. Now, so the point I'm trying to get at is, would I mow that up and down at a 90? Would that be the best way for me to get to that?
What do you feel like it is in comparison to that?
It's more like over there. Steepness wise.
It's steeper than that.
Steeper than that?
Yeah.
Probably directly up and down.
That's what I was thinking.
What's at the top or what's at the bottom?
At the bottom is a bank out over to my swimming pool. And in the
Yeah,
top,
I would think sideways because of
Yeah.
what you got going there.
Up and down, it would be fine if you had runaway.
Right.
But
Yeah, because you can go up something probably crazy steep, but like you said, if you don't have to worry about what's at the bottom or the top, you have to worry about it. So I would go sideways.
we have a gentleman that mows over at Bear Gap on the water storage sheds over there, and when he gets on those banks, he mows down them and he backs back up it, and he is on that bank for 2 hours, and until he gets clear to the other side, he doesn't drive off of it.
Now, why does he do that as opposed to going horizontal?
Because of the steepness level.
Because of the steepness.
Yeah.
You'll get a feel for it with your other banks for a while first. And
Oh
then,
yeah, that'd be the last place I would take it for a while.
But I've just been picturing that. I think you can go out like exactly like we did with that DR Field and Brush, and then gently back the same tracks, and then go up and go out again.
Is it anything that you can mow around the swale, or does it end also?
No, it ends
You've got the bank, but it swales. It goes up around that.
south, west, and north. You're fucked. You got to enter it from east. Enter it and exit.
Only enter
Exit.
from one. It's a bitch.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be something you'll just get the feel for and get the comfort level.
It's not a big deal because I can still
Biggest
mow it
thing
with my
that
DR.
I'll stress.
I think you're going to be able to mow it with this. I think you're going to be able to mow it sideways with this.
When you're on the machine, as far as making you feel comfortable in those situations, get yourself planted to where you can reach these foot pegs.
Okay.
Because when you get on those banks, or you get to where you're descending a hill, those foot pegs
Supporting
are
yourself
what
with your
keep you in
feet.
the seat.
I got you.
In other words,
You
you're talking
recommend
the front.
using a seatbelt too.
Yes.
Well, I like on my.
But he's saying front to
some of the
back.
seat
Get the
banks-
front to back done to where you can use your quads
Yeah.
to support yourself.
That way your knees are keeping you there. Because when you drop out of that ball field down over that bank, and that's like 25 degrees, you'll feel yourself pulling forward. So the foot pegs are what's keeping you planted.
See, you can't do that on a Kubota. You're instead of having the leverage.
Yeah,
of
you're just
that,
on the flat.
You're on the flat. You can't do that on a Kubota.
And honestly, that heel toe pad that you were describing to me, that's why for
That
probably
takes
every
away from
30
that.
we sell, because your feet are out there not worrying about back here.
Yeah.
And that's honestly why I don't like that system, because your feet are never planted. Your foot is always closed.
I'm just so used to that. It's just going to take some getting used to,
Right.
a little different system.
Do you also have tilt?
And the thing of it is, with my Kubota on some of the side hills, I have to use that seat belt. Otherwise, I slide right off the seat.
Yep.
With this, I don't think that's going to be the case.
Right.
Before you guys take off, do you want to go back and either run it up in the ball field or just
Probably should.
push some controls on the bank and get comfortable?
Probably
Yep,
should.
just
yeah.
for a couple minutes, anyways.
Yeah, we won't waste a lot of your time, but
And one small thing, those black plastic caps that are in your bag. So if you ever took these goals off,
she told us.
they'll thread in and cover the holes. That pretty well runs around the, I guess as far as greasing too, what we talked about the deck. This black cylinder has one at each end. That shiny silver bar has one at each end. There's one right here that is for the articulation.
Okay.
Where the mower deck attaches, there's one on each side,
Okay.
and then there's two on the under the hood for the lift cylinder. But don't try to lock it all in. The book will literally have arrows to every single one. So
Okay.
If he's getting it serviced consistently, he's not going to worry about it anyways. Right.
Yeah, and I will be getting the service because
So
Jump.
if you want to walk just straight back, I'll circle up around and then.
sounds good.
He wants to mow wide open, right? Always.